Do you hate communicating with suppliers on Alibaba? You find yourself getting somewhere with a supplier, then all of a sudden they ghost you, or they stop responding, or they just don't understand what you're saying, and you're like tearing your hair out trying to find common ground with them. That was me 7 years ago. My name is Shadi Hadada. I am the founder and creative director at Fittdesign, the world's first digital fashion design agency. This is the strategy that I use, and I split it up into key points. Number one is simply do not put all of your eggs in one basket. When you're communicating with suppliers, many of us have this innate tendency to want to find something and just stick with it, which is great. This is called loyalty. This is what creates and fosters a good relationship with your suppliers. But in the beginning, you simply don't know what you're going to expect. Reach out to 50. If you're looking for one supplier, you may have to reach out to 50 on Alibaba. And chances are you probably will land on 3 or 2 at maximum that you actually want to work with. You might land to 10 that actually give you quotes, and then 3 that you find are professional enough and you actually want to work with. So what are the reasons that you might drop off with some suppliers? Some suppliers simply may not be the right fit for you. They may not have the right minimum order quantity that you need. So that's number one. 2, they may not offer the product quality that you want. Maybe their quality is too high. Maybe it's too low. 3, they might fall off over communication over time. 4, they might not be able to communicate or speak your language. So know when to cut off a bad lead and keep moving forward. Number 2 is that you need to be patient and you need to be respectful. My best recommendation for any interaction, especially an interaction where you have and you will potentially invest thousands of dollars, be respectful, be patient, be understanding, be patient. If they tell you they're going to get back to you in 3 to 4 days, fine, you can follow up, make sure that they're on track, but you need to be patient. Don't go and scream at them and say, oh, why 3 to 4 days? That takes too long. It should be there today. Doing that and side arming them is not going to be the way that you achieve success. One thing that you need to understand is that the supplier negotiation or interaction could potentially take weeks. Don't think that just because you have a project today that you're going to get samples in 2 weeks. You're going to have to go through a vetting process in the beginning, a back and forth. The biggest red flag when interacting with your suppliers is when you ask them for a quotation. It's actually a good idea that they take a couple of days to give you a quotation back. The supplier that is able to whip up a quotation in a single second is definitely someone you should avoid at all costs. Believe me when I say the faster the price comes, the faster it's going to change down the line. Number 3, and this is my biggest no-no when it comes to communicating with suppliers, never mention that you are a startup brand. A supplier is someone that you should always treat in a professional sense. Never tell them that you're a startup, that they need to take a chance on you. Tell them, hey, my name is XYZ. I work with company XYZ. We're looking to develop our collection for next fall. You came highly recommended. By who? No one knows. But just by virtue of saying you came highly recommended, this sort of shows that you're already in the industry, that you already know what others are saying, and you have contacts from other brands that are potentially referring these suppliers to you. Apparel brands or apparel manufacturers do not like to work with small startup brands because they have to educate them. They have to educate them on why they need a tech pack, why they need a sample, why things cost the way they cost. They don't want to do so. Number 4, once you had a couple of good sets of communicating on Alibaba or any sort of physical or sort of digital manufacturing platform, consider transitioning to more personal communication. Whether that communication is by WhatsApp or by WeChat, this is the way to go. Simply because you're going to be able to get faster responses and you're going to have more flexibility over when you respond to them and how you respond to them. My best recommendation is if you're located overseas, anywhere in the US, in Canada, in the UK, pretty much anywhere except China, use WeChat. Why do you want to use WeChat? Well, that's what they use in China. If you're dealing with China, you want to eliminate or minimize any potential of friction for them getting back to you. What I like to do with my suppliers is I sometimes gift them. I will fly out to them. They are a part of my business and I rely on them to do their job in order for me to succeed. Number 5, when it comes to communicating with suppliers, part of your communication should be in verifying your supplier. You need to make sure that your supplier is who they say that they are. On Alibaba, you get a lot of middlemen, people that act as if they are part of a well-known and reputable factory, and what they do is they just upcharge you and they upsell you for something that they end up outsourcing to a factory, and they take none of the risk and they help with none of the feedback, they help with none of the assets, and they just end up costing you more money. If you know you're working with the supplier, the factory directly, get on a call with them. Visually verify that they are who they say they are. Make sure that they are legit. One thing that I like to do as well is try to meet the owner, try to meet the manager. The best way to get in contact with owners of companies is simply to go out to expos like ISPO and visit them in person. Last but not least is going to be clear in your communication. Typically, you'll notice that a manufacturing process has these milestones. So first, you might reach out and then they might tell you, I'll get back to you with a quotation. Simply ask them, great, I'm on standby. When do you think you'll be able to get back to me? How many days so that I can mark it in my schedule and my calendar? Simply by asking them this, it gives them the ability and the flexibility to say, oh, 2 to 3 days. This gives you very clear indications of what you expect from them and when you expect it by. If I'm going into a really large production, then I might do a production contract that states the timeline, that states what we're going to order, that states what happens if the products are defective. It's not about being an asshole or about being worried or scared or overly suspicious. It's simply about putting the information in front of both parties and allowing the execution and the work to happen as it should. Well guys, that is it. That is a wrap on this episode. That's been my key tips on how to communicate effectively with suppliers. Let me know, do you currently have any challenges when it comes to communicating with suppliers? Do you find yourself consistently just not getting anywhere? If you want my one-on-one personal recommendation on how you can communicate more effectively, how you can find the right suppliers, how you can negotiate better with suppliers, check the link in the description. I offer one-on-one consultation calls every single week. I do have limited slots, but if you do want to speak to me, then check the link in the description. We can definitely hop on that call. Guys, I say this from the very bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Fit Design TV. Until next week's episode, stay awesome.